This is a Thunderbolt 5 dock from Razer, and it is an updated version of their previous Thunderbolt 4 dock. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about it, so you know whether it is worth your money or not. Razer did send me this dock for free for the purpose of this testing, but they have zero involvement in the making of this review. First up, let's talk about the design. The dock has a full metal construction with a matte finish. It does feel quite premium in the hands, but I find that it tends to collect smudges somewhat easily, presumably from my skin oil. It's not that easy to clean the smudges off, and I had to use alcohol wipes to remove them when I was taking photos of this dock for my Instagram page. It has a long and flat profile rather than something like my CalDigit TS4, which is more boxy and rectangular. There are vents at the sides for ventilation because there are internal fans that are built into this dock. So you probably don't want to put anything right beside the vents in order to ensure that you're not obstructing the ventilation. Next up, ports. This newer version has practically all the ports at the back, with one SD card slot at the side. It does look cleaner from the front, but it is not the most pragmatic in my opinion, especially if you often connect and disconnect external SSDs quite frequently, or if you like to use those aviator cables to connect with your keyboard. You have a single Thunderbolt 5 upstream port to connect to your laptop, and 3 Thunderbolt 5 downstream ports, which you can use to connect to other peripherals, such as 3 4K monitors at 144Hz each, or one 8K monitor at 60Hz. There is one USB-C port and 2 USB-A ports, all featuring USB 3.2 Gen 2 technology that supports transfer speeds of up to 10 gigabits per second. Compared to last year's version, Razer has basically added an additional Thunderbolt port and removed one USB-A port. You may have noticed that there are no HDMI or DisplayPort ports similar to the previous version. There is an Ethernet port as well, but this one can only do 1 gigabits per second of speed, which is the same as the previous version. This is behind the competition because CalDigit and Anker, they all have docks that support at least 2.5 gigabits per second, and the CalDigit TS5 Plus can even go up to 10 gigabits per second. I know that 1 gigabits per second is probably sufficient for gaming, but from a content creator perspective, it might not be sufficient if you like to edit directly off your NAS or transfer super large project files to the NAS on your local network. On the side, there is one UHS-2 SD card slot, which is the next thing I'm going to be talking about. This UHS-2 SD card slot is great if you're a content creator like myself, provided that you have UHS-2 SD cards. To tell if your SD card is UHS-2 supported, just flip to the back of your SD card and see if you have 2 rows of pins at the back. So I tested the read and write speed of this card reader by using Blackmagic's disk speed test. I then compared the results with the UHS-2 card reader on my M4 Pro MacBook Pro, as well as on my CalDigit TS4. And here are the results. As you can see, the Razer and CalDigit TS4 docks have very similar read and write speeds. However, I was kinda hoping that the transfer speeds on this Razer dock would be slightly faster, considering that there is a built-in fan inside it, while the CalDigit one doesn't. So I tried another test, which is a 100GB file transfer, to see whether the Razer dock will perform better under tests that are more sustained and over a longer duration. And based on my results, it does show that the Razer dock is slightly faster, and you do get a speed boost over the MacBook Pro's built-in card slot. Maybe one thing that I would have wished for is for a micro SD card slot to be at the side, similar to what my CalDigit TS4 offers. Because content creators who own action cameras or portable cameras like the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, they will use micro SD cards quite regularly, so having the micro SD card slot will save us the trouble of using an SD card adapter. Next up, let's talk about the internal fans. The previous generation of this dock didn't have fans, but this one has, and it is similar to the Sonnet Echo 13 dock. I was kinda surprised that the fan is constantly spinning even when my laptop is left idle for some time and not connected to any monitor. I'll let you listen to it for yourself. It's not loud by any means, and it is audible only if you are in a quiet room, but as soon as you play any music or watch any videos, then the fan noise will just disappear into the background. But one good thing about having the fans running constantly on this Razer dock is that it does help to keep it a lot cooler compared to my CalDigit TS4, which only relied on passive cooling and is just warm all the time even when my laptop is just idling and not doing anything. I think it would be pretty cool if the fans inside are programmable, or if there was a way to monitor the fan speed or the temperature of this dock using the Razer Synapse app. Next up, let's look at the SSD slot. At the bottom of this dock, there is actually a slot for a standard M2 2280 SSD. This is a feature that is new to the Thunderbolt 5 dock and it is not on the previous generation. It supports PCIe Gen 4 drives, but it is also backwards compatible with Gen 5 NVMe SSDs like the Samsung 9100 series for example, and the largest storage that it can accept is up to 8TB. There are thermal pads and a heat sink inside it, which is a great addition for thermal management and ensuring a consistently high transfer speed for super large files. I tested the transfer speed by connecting this dock to my M4 Pro MacBook Pro using the Thunderbolt 5 port and also using the Samsung 9100 Pro SSD. Based on my testing, it was able to hit a very impressive write speed of about 6000 MB per second on average and a read speed of 5000 MB per second on average. Read speeds are typically faster, so I'm not really sure why I'm getting faster write speeds in this test. And that is the same on my M4 MacBook Air with Thunderbolt 4 ports. It got 3000 MB per second write speed and 2900 MB per second read speed on average. But whether you are using a Thunderbolt 4 or Thunderbolt 5 port, you should have no problems editing 4K and 6K videos directly off this Razer dock. Next up, let's talk about power. This dock can output a maximum of 250 watts from its ports, which is almost double of the 135 watts of total output from the previous generation. But it also comes with this super beefy power brick, which I think is also quite a bit larger than the previous generation. The power brick is actually almost the same size as the dock itself. Another upgrade that this dock has over the previous generation is that it is now able to output 140 watts of power delivery to your laptop because of the upgraded Thunderbolt 5 port. This is more than 50% more power compared to the previous Thunderbolt 4 dock. This means that you will have no problems charging a 16-inch MacBook Pro at the maximum wattage. It does come with a 0.8 meter Thunderbolt 5 cable, which is awesome because Thunderbolt 5 cables are not cheap currently. So this allows you to be able to immediately start using the dock if you don't already have a Thunderbolt 5 cable. And I found that the dock supports offline charging as well. This means that even if you don't have a laptop connected to the upstream Thunderbolt port, you can still use this dock as a charging station to charge some of your devices. But interestingly, in offline charging mode, I only managed to get 15 watts out of all the Thunderbolt 5 downstream ports when trying to charge my power bank and my phones, and I only got a single watt when trying to charge using the USB-C port in offline mode. And I do want to point out that the lack of ports at the front makes it a bit difficult to take advantage of the USB-C and the Thunderbolt 5 downstream ports for charging, unless you have a few cables that are permanently attached to the Thunderbolt or the USB-C ports at the back. Next up, lighting. This is probably the only Thunderbolt 5 dock out there that has this lighting feature. It has lighting at the bottom and you can actually connect it to the Razer Synapse app to adjust the lighting effects and the colors on this dock. Now, I usually find lighting on laptop peripherals to be a bit gimmicky and give off too much of that gamer vibes, but I do find that the lighting looks particularly cool when it is on a dock. It makes the dock look like the command center of your entire desk setup, and with the right colors and the right lighting effects, it can certainly enhance the aesthetics of your workstation. Overall, I think that this newer generation Razer Thunderbolt 5 dock does have significant improvements over the previous generation, and it also has two new features that are not commonly found on other docks, namely the built-in M2 storage slot and the cooling fans. With that being said, the M2 slot might not be all that useful if you already have an NVMe enclosure and you want to be able to bring your SSD around with you. And I also find that the number of ports on this dock might be insufficient for some people. It is sufficient for me because I use Bluetooth for my mice and keyboard and I don't use that many wired peripherals. But for example, if you're a streamer and you use a lot of wired peripherals like a teleprompter, a stream deck, or USB powered lights, then the ports might not be sufficient for you. The number of ports on this dock is certainly lesser than many of the Thunderbolt 5 docks in the market, which typically have about 13, 14 or 15 ports. So I think adding more ports to this dock will make it a much more attractive purchase, since the number of ports is a deciding factor for many people. Alright, that's all I have for this dock. If you still have any more questions, do leave them down in the comment section below and I'll be sure to reply to you. If you're interested in other accessories from Razer, check out my review of the new Razer Joro keyboard right over here. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.